Origin Gents, welcome to UX, and this is the Pakistan-Afghanistan conflict restarts. What the fuck? Even this, like, okay, I just watched about Venezuela thing, where America is literally preparing to invade. Like the top military guys are like resigning. Why? Because the new guy is gonna come, who's gonna be more aggressive. This is a pattern, which means that they're gonna invade. Fucking hell. And now Pakistan, Afghanistan, like a truce didn't even last. Like, what is happening? Like, world is at war. This is how it starts. This is how world wars start. Conflicts pop up everywhere, and soon enough, groups form, and there you go. World is at war. This is fucked up, man. You think that all like grim, dark stories about wars. Like, yeah, it's probably not gonna happen in 21st century. People are not that stupid. But this is human nature. Peace didn't last, right? Major countries were not at war. Conflicts in Middle East, a lot of conflicts in Africa, sure, but like major countries, like proper countries with proper armies, didn't collide at this scale. Now it is. One after another, everywhere it's popping up. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen with Taliban and Pakistan thing. Like this whole Balochistan thing is happening. I don't know, man. This is just insane. Let's watch one.
Security in South Asia. On Saturday, peace talks between Pakistan and Afghanistan collapsed after yet another border skirmish. On Monday, there was a terror attack in New Delhi, the deadliest in India's capital since 2008, and on
that's also fucked up, right? If there's any evidence of Pakistan was involved, yeah, Pakistan is fighting now two-front war now because India is not going to back down after last time. Yeah, the truce between India and Pakistan might break as well. If any sign points toward Pakistan terrorists, yeah, India's not going to back down this time. No, it doesn't matter if Trump intervenes, doesn't matter who intervenes. This time India's not going to back down, which is like, yeah.
On Tuesday, there was another terror attack in Islamabad. Like the attack in New Delhi, this was the deadliest in Pakistan's capital since 2008, and sparked a furious reaction from Pakistan's foreign minister, who blamed India for financing terror groups and refused to rule out going to war with Afghanistan. So, in this video, we're going to look
This is very convenient, right? Like, do attacks in India, then when shit happens to you because you have conflict somewhere else, blame India because India is known to fund terrorist groups. What the fuck are you talking about?
What happened this past week, what might happen next, and why Pakistan has no good options.
This is what Pakistan wanted, by the way. Even after the truce, the Pakistan's whatever chief military guy was going to USA and like puffing their chest, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Yeah, your clothes are, you don't even have like proper clothes to wear. Everything's ripped from everywhere. How about worry about buying new clothes before you do anything else? Your economy is not doing great. Your military is not doing great. And you want to fight India? You're still puffing your chest. You think after running to Trump, do the peace treaty, you think that they would back down. But no, they're still puffing the chest. What is your end goal? What do you think is going to happen? If you fight India, what do you think is going to happen?
If this kind of topic is interesting to you, you'd enjoy the next issue of our magazine Too Long, where we're talking about the new Middle East. In this issue, we'll be running through each country in the region and talking about their future, before reflecting on how recent events have reshaped the Middle East forever. Pre-order your copy or subscribe by clicking the link in the description. So let's start with some context. We've gone through this many times in previous videos, but the TLDR is that until recently, the Taliban and Pakistan were actually pretty good mates. Pakistan supported the Taliban and the wider Mujahideen in their fight against the Soviets in the 80s, and was one of just 3 countries to recognise the Taliban as the legitimate government of Afghanistan when they conquered Kabul in 1996, along with Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Pakistan even maintained relations with the Taliban during the US occupation of Afghanistan, which began in 2001. This irritated the US, but Pakistan was unwilling to cut ties with the Taliban, largely because Pakistan always suspected the Taliban might eventually return to power, and wanted to keep them on side to prevent the
So you're telling me after all their investment, they fucked up? They didn't even keep the relationship when Taliban did came to power recently. They somehow fumbled that shit. That's how incompetent Pakistan leaders are.
Taliban from hosting terror groups that might attack Pakistan, including, most notably, the Pakistani Taliban or TTP, who've waged a violent insurgency against the Pakistani state since 2007. Unfortunately for Pakistan, when the Taliban returned to power in 2021, they made basically no effort to stop terror groups, including not just the TTP, but also other groups such as the Baloch Liberation Front, a Baloch separatist group that has staged a number of attacks inside Pakistan recently, from operating out of Afghanistan, and terror attacks inside Pakistan restarted with increasing frequency. According to the Centre for Research and Security Studies, in 2024, at least 685 Pakistani security personnel were killed in terror attacks or counter-terrorist operations, up about 40% compared to 2023, and the highest figure since 2015. 2025 looks unlikely to be much better. In the first 9 months of this year, 512 security personnel have already been killed in hundreds of terror attacks and counter-terrorism operations. Anyway, in response to these terror attacks, Pakistan has occasionally carried out strikes on TTP targets inside Afghanistan, but these were, until recently, confined to sparsely populated border areas. However, after a spate of terror attacks...
You know what? When your own prime minister, when your own leaders point blank say, we've been doing dirty works for America and funding terror group, point blank to news channels, you can't pull Pikachu face when all these terror things bite you in the ass. Maybe if you focused on not doing terror things, some countries like India would have actually helped you against terrorism issues. India-Pakistan border is literally border against terrorism. No terrorist cell crosses Indian border because India is competent enough to stop them. Sometimes some fringes attack happens, like what happened just recently, which is an attack that happened after 15 years. Last one happened in Mumbai 15 years ago. This is not a common occurrence at Kashmir because Kashmir is contested place, but nowhere else because India makes sure nothing crosses over. Maybe India would have helped you do that same thing with Pakistan, but no. You have to fund terror groups to attack India. Why the fuck not? And now you're going to pull Pikachu face when you're getting attacked from all sides.
Attacks in October, Pakistan escalated by launching airstrikes on targets in Kabul. This intended message was pretty clear. Pakistan was signalling that they would hold the Taliban directly responsible for attacks against Pakistan by terror groups operating out of Afghanistan, and that Taliban sites in Kabul would therefore be legitimate targets for retaliation. This sparked a week-long skirmish between Taliban and Pakistan troops.
Yeah, know that if recent attack on India proves to be Pakistan thing, India's going to do the same shit, by the way. And you're just going to sit there and put out armor footages to show how you're still superior even though you're not.
Along the Afghan-Pakistan border, which was probably the most lethal skirmish between the two sides since the Taliban's return to power, and prompted Pakistan to launch more airstrikes on targets in Kabul and Kandahar, Afghanistan's second largest city. The fighting only stopped after Qatar and Turkey stepped in to force the two sides to a ceasefire, and negotiations on a more permanent peace deal began.
All of that. Wasn't Saudi Arabia defense partner of Pakistan now? They had joined hand, right? Was it Saudi, one of the rich Middle Eastern country? What happened to that shit? Why are they not getting involved? I'm guessing because of India, that would make them directly against India or something just by association, I don't know.
In Istanbul. Unfortunately, and as we predicted back in our last video on the topic, these negotiations didn't go anywhere. The basic issue was that the Taliban still refused to do anything about the various terror groups operating out of Afghanistan. But even if they had nominally agreed to do something, it probably wouldn't have happened. After all, the Taliban nominally signed on to the Doha Agreement in 2020, which committed the Taliban to preventing terror groups from operating out of Afghanistan in exchange for a total US withdrawal. But this obviously didn't happen. Moreover, it's not clear the Taliban actually has the capacity to suppress the various terror groups operating across the country.
I was about to say that.
2020.
You're giving too much credit to Taliban, man. Taliban's barely functioning. How the fuck they're going to manage anything? That is that. I think, this is a major fuck up from Pakistan's side. I'm not just saying that because I'm biased, which obviously I am biased, but Pakistan could have handled this better. They could have made Taliban and Afghanistan their ally. Even though Taliban didn't respond well after when they took over, Pakistan should have still kept going for diplomatic talks and try to mend the talks. Both are Islamic countries. Both hold Quran as their like leading things. This is an obvious partnership that could have happened, like joint countries. But yeah, Pakistan fumbled that up.
The United Nations report, for instance, estimated that more than 20 regional and international terrorist organisations, including Al-Qaeda, now operate in Afghanistan, which puts quite a lot on the Taliban's proverbial plate. Moreover, the Taliban isn't a united organisation, and even if the main factions agreed to Pakistan's demands, other factions would probably continue to cooperate with their favoured terror group.
Bigger military and bigger governments than Taliban are not united things. Usually coup happens. Look at Myanmar. Military takes over. Look at Pakistan. Military takes over. Barely a prime minister. Like, governments are not that stable, even at this scale. How Taliban's going to be stable? Of course not.
Groups. Anyway, this is why, on November the 8th, one day after yet another skirmish along the Afghan-Pakistan border, the Taliban announced that they were withdrawing from negotiations, with a spokesperson claiming that Pakistan was demanding Afghanistan take responsibility for Pakistan's internal security, a demand he described as beyond Afghanistan's capacity. Tensions skyrocketed on November the 11th, when a suicide bombing in Pakistan's capital Islamabad, for which a faction of the TTP has since claimed responsibility, killed at least 12 people and injured at least 30 more. This might sound like just another terror attack, but terror attacks in Pakistan's capital are remarkably rare. This was the first terror attack in Islamabad.
Yeah, they're rare because it's usually funded by Pakistan, so why would that happen in their capital? That's why it's rare. Even their own, like, you know, like sometimes it bites the hand that it feeds it, but in the end, it's the one who it feeds it, right? Pakistan is the one who does the funding of the terror. This is why India get pissed off. There's a reason why India is a pacifist country. Like, it doesn't, it doesn't attack. It always responds. That is India's policy. That is going to be India's policy. It doesn't matter how powerful India gets. This is the one thing that separates India from all countries on the planet, which people don't realize. India doesn't attack first. It always at the defense. And Pakistan has the balls to say, like, oh, India's funding terror. India doesn't do that shit. India doesn't do that Cold War shit. And India is so loosely, like, managed that if somebody did do that, it would leak out. Even amongst India, like all the news channels. India is a democratic country, by the way, unlike Pakistan. Shit would leak out just because it might have TRP and it might make profit. India's bigger media thing than people realize. Shit would leak out instantly. It would become a news. Hot topic. Modi government would be overthrown overnight and new government Congress would come to power. This is how India is a democracy, just like how America is. More democracy than America because America is more of a republic. India is a proper democracy with prime minister. Shit like that, what you're proposing, Cold War level shit, doesn't happen in India. And they're still going to claim, oh, India's funding terror groups. Really?
Since 2022, and the deadliest since 2008, when a suicide attack at the Marriott Hotel killed 54 people. This provoked an understandably furious reaction from Pakistan's foreign minister, who signalled that Pakistan would resume airstrikes against the Taliban, and even told a Pakistani news outlet that full-on war with Afghanistan, quote, could definitely happen. He also posted on X that Pakistan is...
This guy said it. This guy is like flexing a lot. It never backs up. He did that shit, same shit with India. He fumbled the shit out of, like, with Australia's news channel when he went there. He completely fumbled that up. It was embarrassing. It's probably on YouTube right now. Like, how is this guy still in his position? Is insane. Even his own, like, what is it, like Congress or whatever. One of the person literally, like, you know, like rip him another one, like just claiming, like, if you don't know how to talk, don't go to news channels. This is that guy. Like, it's just like, he's a, oh, we're definitely going to attack Afghanistan. Like, this is not the guy, like, you're really going to, like, you know, take him at a word type of way. It's like, who's the, like, chief marshal or whatever, the top guy, the military top guy. If he says that, like, yeah, probably that's going to happen. This guy, like, says a lot of this shit.
Is in a state of war and described the Islamabad suicide attack as a wake-up call. The strikes have also reignited tensions with India, with the foreign minister accusing India of sponsoring terror groups inside Afghanistan in an attempt to destabilise Pakistan, an allegation which was quickly dismissed as baseless by India's Ministry of External Affairs.
No shit.
To be honest, we don't know if these allegations
India had real proof with real people, with real names, real backing that any country in the world could check if it's from Pakistan or not. Pakistan has none of those proofs and just says shit. Oh, by the way, India's behind it. What evidence? Trust me, bro.
Are true, but it's at least true that India and the Taliban have become friendlier in recent months.
That's politics.
In October, for instance, the Taliban's foreign minister paid his first visit to India since the Taliban's return to power in 2021, and India then announced that it would be reopening the embassy in Kabul, which was shut 4 years ago. This comes at a particularly tense time for India.
That's politics to put pressure on Pakistan. Doesn't mean they're funding terror groups. Do you know how fucked up that is? If it leaked like Modi government funded terror groups, terror, which is the biggest issue of India, that's why India bombed the shit out of Pakistan, Modi would be overthrown overnight. That's too hot. This is like saying like USA funded terror groups after 9/11. Do you understand how touchy that subject is? Yes, India would never do that.
India, where security-related anxieties have been riding high since the car bombing in New Delhi on Monday that killed 13 people. The first deadly terror attack in India's capital since 2011 and the deadliest since 2008. So, what happens next? Well, it's hard to say, but Pakistan...
This shit doesn't happen in India. Like, India is secure enough for that, but this is gonna like, this. It's in capital. This shit's gonna be too intense. India will dig through this. India will find everything there is to find. And if the shit points toward Pakistan, this time there will be no peace agreement. That might be fucked up.
Doesn't really have any good options. The Taliban have shown neither the willingness nor the ability to expel the various terror groups operating out of Afghanistan. But further attacks on the Taliban are unlikely to make things better, and might even make things worse. If airstrikes or even a limited invasion destabilise the country, for instance, this would probably create an even more fragmented government, which would find it even more difficult to implement Pakistan's demands. Nonetheless, a sustainable solution is sorely needed, not just for Pakistan and Afghanistan, but also the wider region, which is facing a host of security challenges. By now, you've probably heard all about this story online, but depending where you read about it, you might have heard a complete...
Yeah, but go to regional page link from there, support this channel. This is fucked up. This is a problem with Pakistan. Like, they can't handle their own internal security and then funds other organizations to fuck up with the neighbor countries, this is never good. This is not a very neighborly thing. This is gonna blow up really bad. Yeah, alright, well, if you like my channel, subscribe and I'll see you next time.